The War Council chamber erupted in chaos as Princess Zara stumbled through the entrance, her pale blue skin unmarked by the ritual battle scars that adorned every other Kytherian royal. Queen Elena Rodriguez watched from her position at the diplomatic table, her dark eyes tracking the young alien's movements with growing interest. The human delegation had come to this neutral station expecting typical interspecies negotiations, not a royal succession crisis. "The Kytherian throne remains empty," announced High Chancellor Vex, his forearms gesturing dismissively towards Zara. "This one lacks the strength required by our ancient laws. She cannot even lift the ceremonial warhammer of her ancestors." Elena observed how the other alien dignitaries shifted uncomfortably in their bio-fitted chairs. The Kytherian Empire controlled 17 star systems, and their internal politics affected trade routes across the galaxy. If their weakest princess couldn't claim the throne, war between the royal siblings seemed inevitable. Zara's voice trembled as she addressed the assembly. "I challenge the traditional trials. Our people need leadership, not barbarism. The galaxy has changed since our ancestors wrote these laws." Prince Corax, her eldest brother, laughed from across the chamber. His massive frame dwarfed most beings present, and ceremonial battle wounds crisscrossed his arms like badges of honor. "Weakness speaks of change when it cannot embrace tradition. You would have our empire ruled by philosophy instead of strength." The third sibling, Princess Zara, remained silent, but her hand rested on her plasma blade. Elena noticed how the other royal children had positioned themselves strategically around the room, already choosing sides for the coming conflict. "The human delegation requests permission to speak," Elena said, rising smoothly from her seat. Her military uniform drew attention, the insignia marking her as both Queen and Supreme Commander of Earth's expanding territories. High Chancellor Vex nodded reluctantly. "The humans may observe, though this concerns Kytherian law alone." Elena stepped forward, her boot heels clicking against the crystalline floor. She had served in 3 interstellar conflicts before accepting the crown, and her tactical mind was already processing possibilities. "Your Highness Princess Zara, what alternative do you propose to the traditional trials?" Zara lifted her chin, displaying more courage than her trembling hands suggested. "I propose the trial of alliance. Instead of proving individual strength, I would demonstrate the ability to forge bonds that make our empire stronger." The chamber fell silent. Even the translator devices seemed to pause in their mechanical humming. "Explain this trial," Elena continued, though she suspected where this conversation was heading. "I would choose a champion from among the allied species present. Together, we would face a challenge that tests not just physical prowess, but strategic thinking, diplomatic skill, and the ability to unite different peoples toward a common goal." Prince Corax stepped forward menacingly. "You would have aliens fight for the Kytherian throne? This violates every sacred tradition." "Not fight for the throne," Zara corrected, her voice gaining strength. "Fight alongside a potential ruler who understands that our empire's future depends on cooperation, not conquest." Elena felt a familiar electric tension that preceded major political shifts. The young princess was either brilliant or completely naive, and given the stakes involved, there wouldn't be much middle ground. "Which species would provide this champion?" asked Princess Zara, speaking for the first time. Her tone carried dangerous curiosity. Zara's eyes moved across the assembled delegates, passing over the towering Zentorian ambassador, the crystalline vegan representatives, and the gas-floating nebula collective speakers. Finally, her gaze settled on Elena. "I choose the humans." The explosion of voices filled the chamber as every delegate began speaking simultaneously. Elena remained perfectly still, her expression revealing nothing while her mind raced through implications. Earth's relationship with the Kytherian Empire had been cordial but distant. This decision would thrust humanity directly into alien politics at the highest level. "The humans are warriors," Corax snarled. "They conquered their own world through violence and now spread that violence across the stars. If my sister chooses them, she proves that strength matters most." "The humans are also diplomats and builders," Zara replied steadily. They transformed from a divided species into a unified civilization that extends friendship to other worlds. They understand both conflict and peace. Elena stepped closer to the young princess. Your Highness, choosing a human champion would create obligations and alliances that extend far beyond this trial. Are you prepared for those consequences? I am, Zara said without hesitation. The question is whether humanity is prepared to stand with someone the galaxy considers weak. Elena studied the alien princess carefully. Zara's physical frailty was obvious, but her eyes held intelligent determination. More importantly, her proposal could shift the balance of power across multiple star systems. Earth had been seeking stronger footholds in galactic politics, and this opportunity was unprecedented. If I were to accept, Elena said slowly, what would be the nature of this trial? High Chancellor Vex consulted a floating data tablet. The traditional trials involve 3 challenges: physical combat, strategic warfare, and leadership under pressure. The trial of alliance would adapt these requirements to test partnership rather than individual capability. Elena nodded. The concept intrigued her from both military and diplomatic perspectives. If successful, Earth would gain a powerful ally and demonstrate human capability to other species. If they failed, the consequences would affect human standing throughout the galaxy. I need to consult with my advisors, Elena announced. Time grows short, Princess Vera interjected. The succession must be decided within 3 solar cycles, or the Empire falls into civil war. Elena looked once more at Princess Zara, seeing past the physical weakness to the steel in her spirit. Sometimes the most important battles were fought not with weapons, but with the courage to try something completely different. Princess Zara, Elena said formally, I accept the honor of standing as your champion in the trial of alliance. The chamber erupted again, but this time Elena heard opportunity calling through the chaos. The massive doors of the War Council chamber sealed with a definitive clang, trapping the assembled delegates inside for the next phase of negotiations. Elena found herself studying Princess Zara more closely as they were escorted to separate preparation chambers. The young Kytherian moved with careful precision, compensating for her lack of physical strength through intelligent positioning and awareness of her surroundings. Commander Danny Walsh, Elena's military advisor, fell into step beside her. Your Majesty, this decision puts Earth in an extremely vulnerable position. If we fail, every other species will see humans as incapable of supporting our allies. Elena nodded thoughtfully. And if we succeed, Danny, we establish Earth as a species willing to take calculated risks for principled allies. Sometimes the greatest victories come from the most unexpected partnerships. The preparation chamber assigned to the human delegation was austere but functional, with multiple data terminals and communication arrays linking back to Earth Command. General Patricia Morgan, Elena's chief of staff, was already coordinating with intelligence divisions across the human territories. What do we know about these traditional trials? Elena asked, settling into the central planning chair. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Bennett pulled up holographic displays showing historical records. The physical combat trial typically involves fighting massive predators from the Kytherian homeworld. The strategic warfare component requires commanding simulated space battles. The leadership test places candidates in crisis scenarios, where they must make decisions affecting millions of lives. And how would the trial of alliance modify these challenges? This type of trial hasn't been attempted in over 1,000 years of Kytherian history. Elena studied the tactical breakdowns while considering broader implications. Earth's military doctrine emphasized combined operations and multi-species cooperations, skills that could translate well to these modified trials. However, the political ramifications extended far beyond the immediate challenge. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message from the Kytherian delegation. Princess Zara appeared on the communication screen, looking smaller and more vulnerable than she had in the council chamber. Your Majesty, I want to explain why I chose humanity as my champion species. Elena gestured for her advisors to give them privacy. I'm listening, Your Highness. 3 years ago, when I was studying at the Galactic Archive on Centauri Station, I witnessed something remarkable. A human medical team was working to contain a plague outbreak among the Rigelian colonists. Instead of maintaining quarantine from a safe distance, the humans entered the infected zones and worked alongside Rigelian doctors to develop treatments. The princess paused, her large eyes reflecting emotions that seemed universally recognizable despite her alien features. 12 humans died containing that plague. They could have waited for the Rigelians to handle their own crisis, but they chose to help. That taught me something about strength that my brothers have never understood. Elena felt a familiar pride in her species, tempered by the weight of responsibility. Princess, you should know that accepting this challenge means I'll fight for your vision of leadership, not just for the political alliance. I understand. That's exactly why I chose you. The communication ended, leaving Elena alone with her thoughts and the magnitude of what lay ahead. Through the chamber's transparent walls, she could see other delegations conducting their own urgent conferences. The stakes had escalated beyond a simple succession dispute. Admiral Sarah Collins entered the chamber carrying classified intelligence reports. Your Majesty, our deep space monitoring stations have detected unusual military movements along the Kytherian border systems. If this succession crisis triggers civil war, it could destabilize the entire sector. Elena absorbed this information while reviewing tactical assessments. The trial of alliance wasn't just about Princess Zara's claim to the throne. It represented a potential turning point for interstellar relations across multiple civilizations. Admiral, prepare contingency plans for rapid deployment of our expeditionary forces. If these trials fail and civil war begins, we need to be ready to protect human colonies in the affected regions. Lieutenant Colonel Bennett approached with additional data. Your Majesty, we've received formal protests from the Zentarian and vegan delegations. They claim the trial of alliance gives humanity unfair access to Kytherian political processes. Expected, Elena replied calmly. They're concerned about the precedent this sets. If successful, other species might seek similar arrangements with human leadership. The strategic implications were becoming clearer. Earth's growing influence in galactic politics had already created tension among established powers. This trial would either cement humanity's position as a major player, or demonstrate the limits of human capabilities on the interstellar stage. A priority alert flashed across the main communication console. High Chancellor Vex appeared on screen, his forearms moving in formal ceremonial positions. The trial parameters have been established. Tomorrow at dawn, local station time, the trial of alliance begins. Princess Zara and Queen Elena will face 3 challenges designed to test partnership, strategic thinking, and unified command under extreme pressure. Elena stood at attention. We're ready to proceed, Your Excellency. Understand, Queen Elena, that failure means not only Princess Zara's elimination from succession, but also formal censure for humanity's presumption in interstellar politics. Success, however, would establish unprecedented diplomatic precedent. The communication ended, leaving the human delegation with less than 12 hours to prepare for challenges they couldn't fully anticipate. Elena gathered her advisors for intensive planning sessions, knowing that tomorrow would determine Earth's future relationship with one of the galaxy's most powerful empires. Outside the station's windows, stars wheeled silently through space, indifferent to the political maneuvering that would shape the fate of billions. Elena felt the familiar calm that preceded major military operations, her mind already shifting into the tactical focus that had carried her through previous conflicts. The weakest alien princess had chosen humanity as her champion. Now Elena would discover whether that choice was wisdom or catastrophic miscalculation. The first challenge arena materialized around Elena and Princess Zara as quantum field generators hummed to life, creating a perfect simulation of the Kytherian homeworld's most dangerous region. Volcanic mountains stretched toward a crimson sky while predators moved through the shadows of crystalline forests. The assembled delegates watched from protected observation decks as the trial commenced. Elena checked her equipment one final time. Human military technology had been modified to interface with Kytherian systems, creating hybrid weapons and defense systems that neither species had used before. Princess Zara carried traditional ceremonial items, but Elena noticed how the young royal had subtly adapted their placement for practical effectiveness, rather than ritual display. "The first trial begins," announced High Chancellor Vex through the arena's communication system. "You must retrieve the Crown of Judgment from the Temple of Trials while surviving the guardian beasts that protect it. Individual combat is permitted, but the trial succeeds only if both contestants reach the temple together." Elena immediately understood the modification. Traditional Kytherian trials required individual achievement, but the Alliance version demanded cooperation. She turned to Zara, speaking quietly through their shared communication link. "Your Highness, what do you know about these guardian beasts? Kythak hunters. They're pack predators with enhanced intelligence and energy-based attack capabilities. My brothers would approach this through direct confrontation, using brute force to defeat each creature." Elena studied the terrain through her tactical display. The temple sat atop a mountain peak, accessible through 3 different routes. Each path showed signs of guardian beast activity, but the creatures' patrol patterns suggested they could be predicted and avoided rather than fought. "We're not going to fight them," Elena decided. "We're going to outthink them." Princess Zara looked surprised. "But the trial expects us to prove our strength through combat." "No, it expects us to prove our partnership can overcome challenges that would defeat individual effort. Watch." Elena activated her suit's advanced sensors and began mapping guardian beast movement patterns in real time. The creatures hunted in coordinated groups, but their coordination followed instinctive rather than strategic patterns. Her military training had included extensive study of predator behavior across multiple worlds. "Zara, your people's traditional knowledge about these creatures, do they respond to specific sounds or environmental changes?" The princess considered carefully. Ancient texts mention that Kythak hunters communicate through subsonic frequencies. They use these calls to coordinate attacks and establish territorial boundaries. Elena's suit immediately began analyzing audio frequencies in the arena. Within minutes, her equipment had isolated the guardian beasts' communication patterns and mapped their territorial divisions across the simulated landscape. Perfect. "We're going to speak their language." Elena programmed her suit's audio systems to replicate the subsonic calls while creating a path that followed territorial boundaries rather than crossing them. Instead of challenging the creatures directly, they would move through the landscape as if they belonged there. The plan worked beautifully. Elena and Zara advanced through the treacherous terrain while guardian beasts ignored them, responding to the territorial signals as if the 2 contestants were simply moving through established neutral zones. Other delegates in the observation areas began murmuring as they realized what was happening. "This is cheating!" Prince Korax's voice boomed through the communication system. "They're avoiding combat instead of proving their strength." High Chancellor Vex consulted with the trial administrators before responding. "The trial parameters require reaching the temple together. No specific method was mandated." Elena smiled grimly as they approached the temple entrance. The guardian beasts had positioned themselves as sentries, but her analysis showed a pattern in their attention cycles. During shift changes, brief gaps appeared in their coverage. "Zara, when I signal we sprint for the entrance, my calculations show a 17-second window when the sentries will be transitioning positions." Princess Zara nodded, her breathing steady despite the physical exertion required by the challenging terrain. Elena had noticed how the young royal paced herself carefully, conserving energy for crucial moments rather than trying to match Elena's enhanced human endurance. The signal came and they moved together, Elena's enhanced speed matching Zara's more careful but perfectly timed approach. They reached the temple entrance just as the guardian beasts resumed their positions, completely unaware that their quarry had slipped past. Inside the temple, bioluminescent crystals provided eerie illumination, while ancient Kytherian text covered the walls. The Crown of Judgment sat on a pedestal in the center chamber, but Elena's sensors detected multiple trap mechanisms surrounding it. "Your Highness, can you read these inscriptions?" They're warnings about the Crown's protective systems. Traditional trials require the contestant to overcome each trap through personal strength and courage. Elena studied the visible mechanisms while running tactical analysis. The traps were designed to test individual capabilities, but the Alliance trial allowed for partnership solutions. She began identifying ways to combine human technology with Kytherian knowledge. "Zara, your understanding of the inscriptions combined with my equipment might let us disable these systems instead of triggering them. Are you willing to try something that violates traditional approaches?" I've already violated tradition by choosing an alien champion. Let's see how far we can push the boundaries. Working together, they systematically analyzed and bypassed each protective mechanism. Elena's sensors identified the trap triggers, while Zara's knowledge of ancient Kytherian engineering revealed safe shutdown procedures. Within 30 minutes, they had cleared a path to the crown. Princess Zara lifted the crown of judgment with steady hands, her face showing quiet satisfaction rather than triumphant celebration. Elena felt a surge of respect for the young royal's composure under pressure. First trial completed, High Chancellor Vex announced. Contestants will have 1 hour to prepare for the strategic warfare challenge. As they were escorted from the arena, Elena noticed the reactions from other delegations. Prince Korax looked furious, Princess Vara appeared thoughtful, and the non-Kytherian observers seemed impressed despite themselves. "Your Majesty," Zara said quietly, "that was remarkable. You found solutions I never would have considered, and you provided knowledge I couldn't have gained otherwise. That's what makes partnerships powerful." Elena realized that succeeding in these trials would require more than just completing challenges. They needed to demonstrate a new model of leadership that other species could respect and potentially adopt. The political implications were growing with each successful collaboration. The second trial arena replaced the simulated landscape with a complex strategic command center. Multiple holographic displays showed star systems under attack, while communication channels carried desperate calls for assistance from colony worlds across Kytherian space. Alan recognized the setup immediately. A large-scale military crisis requiring rapid strategic decisions and resource allocation. High Chancellor Vex's voice echoed through the command center. The second trial presents the Battle of Seven Suns, a historical crisis where Kytherian forces face simultaneous attacks across multiple systems. You have 4 hours to coordinate defensive operations and preserve as many lives as possible. Elena moved to the central command console, while Princess Zara accessed the Kytherian historical databases. The tactical situation was complex. Enemy forces had struck 7 different star systems simultaneously, stretching defensive resources beyond their limits. Traditional responses would require choosing which systems to save and which to abandon. "Zara, what do the historical records show about how this battle was originally resolved?" "Prince Thax, my great-grandfather, chose to concentrate all available forces in the 3 most strategically important systems. The other 4 systems were sacrificed to ensure the Empire's core remained intact. Over 2 billion civilians died." Elena studied the fleet dispositions and enemy attack patterns while running strategic calculations. Her human military training emphasized maximizing efficiency through coordinated operations rather than accepting necessary losses. "What if we don't accept that those deaths were necessary?" Princess Zara looked surprised. "The enemy forces outnumber our available ships 3-1 across all 7 systems. Conventional strategy requires prioritizing the most defensible positions." "Conventional strategy, yes, but we're not limited to conventional approaches." Elena began implementing a strategy that violated standard military doctrine, but leveraged the specific advantages of combined human Kytherian capabilities. Instead of concentrating forces in the strongest positions, she dispersed smaller units across all 7 systems while coordinating their actions through real-time communication networks. The key insight came from human experience with asymmetric warfare. Rather than meeting the enemy forces with direct confrontation, Elena organized hit-and-run operations that disrupted enemy coordination while buying time for civilian evacuations. "Zara, your knowledge of Kytherian ship capabilities combined with human tactical doctrine might let us create solutions that neither species could achieve independently." Princess Zara quickly adapted to Elena's strategic thinking, providing cultural and technical insights that refined each operational plan. Her understanding of Kytherian psychology helped predict enemy responses, while Elena's military experience identified opportunities for tactical surprise. Working together, they orchestrated a complex defense that saved 6 of the 7 systems while limiting casualties in the 7th to acceptable levels. The simulated battle concluded with enemy forces withdrawing in confusion after facing coordinated resistance they hadn't anticipated. "Remarkable," High Chancellor Vex announced. "The original Battle of Seven Suns resulted in total casualties exceeding 2 billion lives. Your strategy limited losses to fewer than 50 million, while preserving all major strategic positions. Elena felt satisfied but not triumphant. The numbers represented lives saved through partnership and innovative thinking rather than traditional military strength. More importantly, they had demonstrated that cooperation between species could produce results that neither could achieve alone. Prince Korax's voice carried barely controlled anger. They succeeded through tricks and unconventional methods that ignore proven military principles. They succeeded through superior results, Princess Zara replied unexpectedly. The trial measures effectiveness, not adherence to tradition. Elena noticed how the political dynamics were shifting among the Kytherian royals. Zara seemed to be reconsidering her previous alliances, while other observers were taking note of successful human-alien cooperation. During the break between trials, Elena and Princess Zara reviewed their performance while preparing for the final challenge. The young royal had grown more confident with each success, her natural intelligence shining through, once freed from physical combat requirements. Your Majesty, I want to thank you for showing me possibilities I never imagined. You're the one with courage to try something completely new, Zara. I'm just providing alternative perspectives. The political ramifications were becoming clearer. If they succeeded in the final trial, Earth would gain not just an ally, but a new model for interspecies cooperation. Other civilizations would be forced to reconsider humanity's role in galactic politics. The final challenge would test their partnership under the ultimate pressure. Leadership decisions affecting millions of lives with no time for careful analysis. The third trial arena transformed into a fully immersive crisis simulation that left Elena momentarily disoriented by its complexity. Multiple emergency scenarios played out simultaneously across holographic displays, while urgent communication requests flooded the command channels. Princess Zara stood beside her, both of them now facing the ultimate test of leadership, under extreme pressure. The final trial presents the convergence crisis, High Chancellor Vex announced. A solar flare has disabled interstellar communication across the Kytherian Empire while enemy forces launch coordinated attacks on 17 systems. You must make leadership decisions affecting over 50 billion lives with incomplete information and no contact with subordinate commanders. Elena immediately recognized the scenario's diabolical cleverness. Every military leader's worst nightmare was making critical decisions without adequate intelligence or communication with field operations. The trial wasn't just testing their ability to cooperate, it was measuring their capacity to lead, when leadership itself seemed impossible. Princess Zara accessed what limited data streams remained functional while Elena began prioritizing the crisis elements by potential casualty rates. The enemy attacks showed sophisticated planning, striking at moments when the solar flare would prevent coordinated responses. Zara, what would traditional Kytherian leadership do in this situation? Establish a clear command hierarchy with predetermined response protocols. Each system commander would follow standing orders until communication could be restored. Elena studied the enemy attack patterns while considering human crisis management doctrine. Earth's military philosophy emphasized adaptability and individual initiative within clearly defined mission parameters. That approach might work if we were facing traditional enemy tactics, but look at these attack vectors. They're specifically designed to exploit rigid command structures. The enemy forces had carefully studied Kytherian military doctrine and planned attacks that would turn disciplined responses into predictable vulnerabilities. Systems that followed standard defensive protocols were being systematically overwhelmed. We need to do something completely different, Elena decided. Instead of trying to control responses we can't communicate, we need to inspire local innovation. Elena began crafting a series of broad-spectrum emergency broadcasts that would reach individual system commanders despite the communication disruption. Rather than specific orders, these messages outlined general strategic principles while encouraging local adaptation. Princess Zara contributed by adding elements that would resonate with Kytherian cultural values while supporting Elena's emphasis on flexible responses. Together, they created guidance that honored tradition while enabling innovation. Your Majesty, this violates every principle of military command structure. How can we maintain strategic coherence if local commanders are interpreting orders independently? Elena smiled grimly. We can't maintain traditional coherence, Zara, but we can create something better. A unified response where each element adapts to local conditions while supporting overall strategic goals. The approach required tremendous faith in subordinate commanders' judgment and capabilities. Elena was essentially betting 50 billion lives that local leaders would make better decisions with broad guidance than they would by following rigid protocols in unprecedented situations. As their emergency broadcasts reached individual systems, Elena and Zara watched the tactical displays anxiously. Initial responses showed confusion as local commanders struggled to adapt to the unusual guidance. Several systems appeared to be implementing contradictory strategies. Then, something remarkable happened. Commanders began communicating directly with each other despite the broader communication blackout, sharing tactical innovations and coordinating responses without central direction. The rigid hierarchy was transforming into a flexible network of cooperating leaders. This is unprecedented. Princess Vera's voice came through the observation channel. Local commanders are creating tactical solutions that none of our war colleges ever taught. Elena watched proudly as human-inspired leadership philosophy combined with Kytherian tactical excellence to produce results that exceeded both species' individual capabilities. System after system began turning the tide against attacking forces through innovative cooperation. Prince Korax's furious response echoed through the arena. They're destroying military discipline. Soldiers should follow orders, not create their own strategies. Soldiers are winning battles that traditional orders couldn't win. High Chancellor Vex replied thoughtfully. Perhaps that is the point of leadership. The final results exceeded everyone's expectations. All 17 systems successfully repelled enemy attacks, while casualty rates remained below projected minimums. More significantly, the distributed command structure had created tactical innovations that strengthened the entire Empire's defensive capabilities. Trial complete, High Chancellor Vex announced. Princess Zara and Queen Elena have successfully demonstrated alternative approaches to leadership, strategic thinking, and crisis management. Elena felt exhausted but exhilarated. The trials had pushed both leaders beyond their comfort zones while proving that interspecies partnership could produce extraordinary results. More importantly, they had shown the watching galaxy something new about what cooperation could accomplish. Princess Zara turned to Elena with tears of gratitude in her large alien eyes. Your Majesty, you helped me discover strength I never knew I possessed. You already had that strength, Zara. You just needed permission to use it differently. The political implications were still unfolding, but Elena could see that they had created something far more significant than a successful alliance. They had demonstrated a new model for leadership that other species would study and potentially adopt. High Chancellor Vex called for immediate deliberation among the Kytherian nobility to determine whether the trial of alliance had satisfied legal requirements for succession. The outcome would determine not just Princess Zara's claim to the throne, but humanity's future role in galactic politics. Elena waited calmly while alien voices debated the fate of two civilizations. Whatever happened next, she was proud of what they had accomplished together. The notification came at dawn station time. High Chancellor Vex requested Elena's immediate presence in the formal judgment chamber. Princess Zara was already waiting when Elena arrived, her pale blue skin showing signs of exhaustion, but her posture radiating quiet confidence. The ornate chamber held representatives from dozens of species, all gathered to witness the historic decision. Elena noticed how the various delegations had positioned themselves around the chamber. The traditional Kytherian nobles clustered near Prince Korax, while more progressive factions had moved closer to Princess Vara. Non-Kytherian observers maintained careful neutrality, but their attention focused intently on the proceedings. The Kytherian Council of Succession has reached its decision, High Chancellor Vex announced, his forearms moving in ceremonial patterns. The trial of alliance has been deemed valid under ancient law, as it successfully tested qualities essential to imperial leadership: the ability to forge beneficial partnerships, strategic innovation under pressure, and inspiration of subordinate leaders. Elena felt a surge of satisfaction tempered by awareness that this was only the beginning of larger political changes. Princess Zara had proven her worthiness for the throne, but claiming it would require navigating complex resistance from traditional factions. Prince Korax stepped forward, his massive frame towering over the assembly. I formally challenge this decision. The trials violated fundamental principles of Kytherian strength and tradition. My sister succeeded through alien assistance rather than personal capability. That alien assistance demonstrated exactly the kind of leadership our empire needs. Princess Zara replied, surprising everyone by speaking against her brother. The galaxy has changed, Corax. Rulers who cannot adapt their approaches will lead their people to destruction. Elena watched the political dynamics shift in real time. Vera's unexpected support for Zara created a new coalition within the royal family, isolating Corax among the most conservative factions. The moderate nobles began realigning their positions as they calculated the implications. High Chancellor Vex consulted ancient legal texts displayed on floating hollow screens. Prince Corax, you may invoke the right of final challenge, but doing so requires accepting personal combat against Princess Zara's chosen champion. Elena felt her tactical instincts activate immediately. She had wondered when this moment would arrive. Traditional Kytherian succession law included provisions for direct challenge, and Corax would never accept defeat through legal maneuvering alone. I invoke that right, Corax declared. Let the human champion face me in personal combat. When I defeat her, this mockery of tradition ends. Princess Zara looked alarmed, but Elena remained calm. She had expected this development and prepared accordingly. The challenge wouldn't be simple physical combat. Kytherian law required that such contests test multiple dimensions of capability. High Chancellor, what are the parameters for this final confrontation? Single combat between Prince Corax and Queen Elena, using traditional weapons and armor. Victory requires either surrender or incapacitation of your opponent. As this represents a formal succession challenge, no outside assistance is permitted. Parasynthoids is indeed. Elena studied Prince Corax carefully. He outweighed her by at least 50%, with enhanced physical capabilities typical of traditional Kytherian warriors. However, his approach to the previous trials had revealed tactical limitations that her military training might exploit. I accept the challenge, Elena announced. When do we begin? Immediately. Combat will take place in the central arena while all delegates observe. Elena was escorted to preparation chambers where her advisors waited anxiously. Commander Danny Walsh looked particularly concerned as he reviewed tactical assessments of Prince Corax's capabilities. Your Majesty, he's trained in traditional Kytherian combat techniques that emphasize overwhelming force and direct confrontation. Our intelligence suggests he's never lost a personal challenge. Elena checked her equipment while considering strategy. Traditional Kytherian combat valued strength and honor above tactical innovation, which could provide opportunities for someone trained in human military doctrine. Danny, sometimes the best strategy is letting your opponent defeat themselves through overconfidence. Admiral Sarah Collins provided intelligence updates about Prince Corax's previous combat experiences. His victories had all followed similar patterns. Immediate, aggressive attacks that overwhelmed opponents before they could implement defensive strategies. He'll expect you to match his aggressive approach, Your Majesty. If you can survive his initial assault, his tactical inflexibility might become a weakness. Elena nodded while running mental combat simulations. The challenge required balancing respect for Kytherian traditions with the need to win decisively. A narrow victory might be challenged, but overwhelming defeat of their strongest warrior would establish human martial credibility across the galaxy. The arena had been reconfigured for single combat, with traditional Kytherian weapons and armor provided for both contestants. Elena tested the unfamiliar equipment while observing how Prince Corax prepared for battle. His confidence was obvious, but she detected signs of impatience that might be exploitable. Princess Zara approached during the final preparation period. Your Majesty, Corax has never fought opponents trained in alien combat techniques. He knows only traditional Kytherian methods. What are his preferred tactics? Direct frontal assault, using superior strength and reach. He wins by overpowering opponents before they can establish defensive positions. Elena smiled grimly. Human military training emphasized using an enemy's strengths against them, turning apparent advantages into tactical vulnerabilities. If Corax committed to aggressive assault, his momentum could be redirected rather than opposed. Princess, regardless of what happens in this combat, you've already proven your fitness to rule. The trials demonstrated capabilities that your empire needs. I know. But I also need my chosen champion to survive this final test. Elena entered the combat arena to find Prince Korax waiting impatiently, his massive frame appearing even more intimidating in traditional battle armor. The assembled delegates watched silently as High Chancellor Vex verified the combat parameters. Combat begins when the ceremonial gong sounds. Victory conditions remain as stated: surrender or incapacitation. Elena settled into a defensive stance that appeared passive, but actually prepared multiple response options. Prince Korax raised his weapon aggressively, clearly planning to end the fight quickly through overwhelming initial assault. The gong sounded, and Prince Korax charged forward exactly as Elena had anticipated, committing fully to an attack that left no room for tactical adjustment. The massive Kytherian warrior thundered across the arena floor, his ceremonial blade singing through the air as he closed distance with devastating speed. Elena waited until the last possible moment before implementing her strategy, using Prince Korax's overwhelming momentum against him through precise tactical maneuvering. Instead of meeting his charge directly, Elena shifted sideways while redirecting his weapon's trajectory past her position. Prince Korax's commitment to the attack carried him beyond his intended target, creating a brief moment of vulnerability that Elena exploited immediately. Her counter-strike targeted specific points where Kytherian armor traditionally showed weakness, techniques she had studied from human intelligence reports on alien combat systems. The blow connected solidly, staggering Prince Korax and disrupting his balance. "Impossible," Korax snarled, recovering quickly but now showing signs of uncertainty. His initial assault had failed completely, leaving him facing an opponent who clearly understood tactical principles he had never encountered. Elena maintained her defensive positioning while analyzing his movement patterns. Prince Korax's combat training emphasized strength and aggression, but showed limited adaptation to unexpected tactical situations. His responses were becoming predictable as he fell back on familiar techniques. The second exchange followed similar patterns. Korax attempted another powerful assault, but Elena's superior tactical flexibility allowed her to avoid direct confrontation while landing precise counterstrikes. Each successful defense further undermined his confidence while demonstrating human combat capabilities to the watching delegates. "Fight like a warrior, not a coward," Prince Korax demanded, his frustration mounting as traditional tactics proved ineffective. Elena smiled coldly. "I am fighting like a warrior, Your Highness, just not the kind of warrior you're accustomed to facing." The psychological element was as important as the physical combat. Every successful defense against Korax's attacks reinforced Elena's tactical superiority while highlighting his inability to adapt. The watching delegates could see clearly which fighter controlled the engagement. Princess Vara's voice carried across the arena. "My brother fights with honor, but honor alone cannot overcome superior strategy." Elena recognized the political significance of that comment. Zara was publicly acknowledging human tactical excellence while positioning herself within the new coalition, supporting Princess Zara's claim to succession. Prince Korax's mounting desperation led to increasingly reckless attacks. His tactical discipline deteriorated as frustration overwhelmed his combat training, creating larger gaps in his defenses that Elena systematically exploited. The decisive moment came when Korax overextended himself during a particularly aggressive assault. Elena redirected his momentum, while simultaneously striking pressure points that temporarily paralyzed his weapon arm. The massive warrior stumbled and fell, his ceremonial blade clattering across the arena floor. Elena positioned herself defensively while Prince Korax struggled to rise, his combat effectiveness clearly compromised. The traditional conclusion would require her to demand formal surrender or continue attacking until incapacitation was complete. "Prince Korax," Elena said formally, "you have fought with courage and honor. I offer you the opportunity to yield with dignity intact." The fallen warrior looked up at her with a mixture of anger and grudging respect. His pride warred with practical recognition that continuing the combat would only result in further humiliation. "I yield," Prince Korax said finally, his voice carrying bitter acceptance of tactical defeat. High Chancellor Vex's announcement echoed through the arena. Combat concluded. Queen Elena of Earth is declared victorious. The final challenge to Princess Zara's succession claim is rejected. Elena extended her hand to help Prince Korax rise, a gesture that surprised the Kytherian warrior, but demonstrated human concepts of honorable victory. The political symbolism was important. Earth sought alliance rather than dominance over defeated opponents. "You fought well, Your Highness," Elena said respectfully. "Your empire is fortunate to have warriors of your caliber." Prince Korax accepted the assistance with obvious reluctance, but his expression suggested growing understanding of why his sister had chosen human partnership. "Your fighting skills are unconventional but effective." The assembled delegates began discussing the implications immediately. Earth had not only supported Princess Zara's successful claim to succession, but had also demonstrated superior combat capabilities against traditional Kytherian warriors. The political ramifications would reshape interstellar relationships across multiple systems. Princess Zara approached the center of the arena, her bearing transformed from uncertain royal to confident leader. The trials had strengthened her in ways that purely physical challenges never could have accomplished. "High Chancellor Vex," Princess Zara announced formally, "I claim the throne of Kyther, under the ancient laws, having successfully completed the required trials with my chosen champion. The claim is acknowledged and validated. Long live Queen Zara of the Kytherian Empire." Elena felt profound satisfaction as alien voices across the chamber echoed the traditional acknowledgement. The weakest princess had become an empress through courage, intelligence, and the willingness to forge unprecedented partnerships. The coronation ceremony took place immediately, with delegates from across the galaxy witnessing the historic moment. Queen Zara received the crown of judgment while Elena stood at her side, representing not just human support, but a new model of interspecies cooperation that would influence galactic politics for generations. The ceremony concluded with Queen Zara's first official proclamation as Empress. Her words carried across hyperspace communication networks to billions of beings throughout Kytherian space and beyond. The Kytherian Empire enters a new age of cooperation and shared strength. We welcome partnership with all species willing to work toward mutual prosperity and peace. The trials have proven that our greatest achievements come not through isolated strength, but through unity of purpose with worthy allies. Elena listened proudly as the new empress outlined policies that would transform one of the galaxy's most traditional empires into a progressive force for interstellar cooperation. Earth had gained not just an ally, but a partner in reshaping the political landscape of known space. High Chancellor Vex approached Elena during the reception following the coronation. "Queen Elena, the Kytherian Empire formally requests establishment of permanent alliance protocols with Earth. Your species has demonstrated capabilities and values that complement our own." Elena nodded thoughtfully. The alliance would provide Earth with access to Kytherian technology and trade networks, while offering the Empire human expertise in tactical innovation and crisis management. More importantly, their partnership would demonstrate successful interspecies cooperation to other civilizations. High Chancellor, Earth accepts this alliance with honor. We look forward to achievements that neither our species could accomplish independently. As the celebration continued around them, Elena reflected on how quickly circumstances had changed. 3 days ago, she had arrived expecting routine diplomatic negotiations. Now she was returning to Earth as the architect of humanity's most significant interstellar alliance and the catalyst for political transformation across multiple star systems. Queen Zara joined Elena near the observation windows overlooking the space station's docking bays. Ships from dozens of worlds were preparing to depart, carrying news of the succession resolution and its implications throughout the galaxy. "Your Majesty," Queen Zara said quietly, "I can never adequately thank you for what you've done." "You didn't just help me claim a throne, you showed me how to deserve it." Elena smiled warmly at her alien friend and newfound ally. "Zara, you already deserve that throne. You just needed the chance to prove it. on your own terms rather than terms defined by others. The two queens stood together watching stars wheel through the darkness beyond the station's hull. Somewhere among those distant lights, colonies of both their species were beginning to explore possibilities that would have been unimaginable just days earlier. Elena's personal communication device chimed with a priority message from Earth Command. Admiral Collins's voice carried excitement and apprehension in equal measure. Your Majesty, we're receiving formal alliance requests from 6 additional species who witnessed the trials. Apparently, your demonstration of human capabilities has created significant interest in potential partnerships. Elena exchanged glances with Queen Zara, both leaders recognizing that they had initiated changes extending far beyond their original intentions. The success of their alliance was inspiring other civilizations to reconsider their own diplomatic strategies. Admiral, prepare comprehensive briefings on each requesting species. We'll need to evaluate potential partnerships carefully to ensure they align with both human values and our new alliance obligations. As Elena prepared for departure back to Earth, she realized that the most significant outcomes of these trials were still developing. The immediate political crisis had been resolved, but the precedent they had established would influence interstellar relations for decades or centuries to come. Queen Zara accompanied Elena to her departure shuttle, along with a formal embassy delegation that would establish permanent Kytherian representation on Earth. The symbolic importance of the moment was clear to both leaders and the assembled observers. "Safe travels, my friend," Queen Zara said warmly. "I look forward to achievements we'll accomplish together." Elena boarded her shuttle, knowing that she was returning home to a changed galaxy where humanity occupied a fundamentally different position among the stars. The weakest alien princess had chosen Earth as her champion, and that choice had elevated both species to new possibilities neither could have imagined alone. As her ship jumped to hyperspace, Elena began planning how to build upon the foundation they had established. The alliance with Queen Zara was just the beginning of Earth's transformation into a major force for cooperation and innovation across the known galaxy. The stars waited with infinite possibilities.